Hi, I'm Brad Smart, and the title of this top grading tips article is How to Fix the Biggest Mistake Interviewers Make. Here's a summary. The biggest mistake interviewers make is to accept generalities such as, I could communicate better. The fix is to probe for specifics. This article presents some standard fixes plus a powerful original fix. These practical techniques make probing so effective you can arrive at penetrating, accurate conclusions about candidates. Here's the background. There are now about 30 top grading professionals who have conducted more than 1,000 top grading interviews each. I stopped counting at 6,500. Together, we have observed tens of thousands of managers and interviews as they practice top grading in their top grading workshops. So we constantly coach interviewers on their interviewing techniques. We're pretty sure that there are some easy interviewer mistakes to spot, such as leading the witness. Here's an example. You say you were a bit disorganized in that job. So how did you improve? That leads the witness. Or it's also pretty easy to spot something like an interviewer not using the interviewee name much. So it seems like a cold interview. And it's easiest of all, perhaps, to spot when interviewers are not taking nearly enough notes. So we know that after the interview, when they try to rely on their memory, they'll miss some really important things. But accepting generalities is the biggest interviewer mistake. When interviewers do not probe deeply enough, they accept generalities such as, I could improve my people skills, or my decision making ability needs some work. Of course, no one is perfect at decision making. Or another one is, my boss criticized my communication skills. Well, everyone could improve at communications too. So, my boss criticized my communication skills could mean any number of things. Maybe if I said that, I'm a little late for performance appraisals, or I'm too blunt when asking peers to embrace a change, or I kept my boss in the dark about some serious issues, or my emails are too lengthy, or my emails are too blunt, my speeches were uninspiring, or I tried to explain how to build a watch rather than respond to my boss's direct questions, or maybe I don't edit written communications enough, or maybe I'm too defensive rather than admitting mistakes, or when implementing change, maybe I don't communicate enough with enough of my peers, or I'm verbose, or I don't say enough in meetings, or, well, you get the point. If an interviewee tells you when asked, what would your boss say were your weaker points? Well, my communication skills could improve. It doesn't tell you anything. So let's stay with this particular example. My boss criticized my communication skills, and I'll go through and kind of role play how I or you, as an interviewer, might actually handle this situation. So the candidate says, my boss criticized my communication skills. You may follow up with, what would she say were your communications strengths and weaker points? Okay, a more general question. Interviewee might say, I keep everyone well informed and I'm an award-winning public speaker. You might say, great. How exactly did she want you to communicate better? Stay with it, okay? Your interviewee might say, well, it was my communications with peers. Now, that still doesn't tell you enough. You can't rate any competency. You don't know what was going on. So you might say, in what specific ways did your boss want you to communicate better with peers? Okay, you're nailing it. You're coming back again and again. You want the specifics. You want the specifics. And suppose the interviewee says, I guess I tend to be a little direct at times. And you might say, at what times? Probing for specifics. And the candidate might say, most of the time I get along great with peers. Some are my best friends. The candidate's avoiding the question. So you come back again and say, and what about the other times? You're probing. The candidate might say, okay, the CEO announced a major organization change that I led. I explained it well to everyone, but then when some peers were just not getting it, well, my communications tended to get a little terse. And you might say, and they might get a little blunt. What? Well, wait a minute. Brad, isn't that leading the witness? Hey, this is a key point. It's okay to lead the witness toward a negative admission. So let me just read that again. You asked, and what about the other times when you weren't great with peers? The candidate said, okay, the CEO announced a major organizational change that I led. I explained it well to everyone, but then when some peers were just not getting it, well, my communications tended to get a little terse. And you say, and a little blunt? Okay, yeah, it's okay under those circumstances to lead the witness toward a negative. And the candidate might say, yeah, I guess so. Now here is the, I think, unusual approach that we made up years ago. And here it is. Suppose we had a video of your being too blunt. Okay, point to the wall and say, here's the screen. Describe exactly what we'd be seeing and hearing. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. Suppose we had a video of your being too blunt. Describe exactly what we'd be seeing and hearing and point to the wall as though the screen were there. Our experience is that people, particularly under 40-ish, are video oriented and easily relate to this probe that asks them to place themselves in a video. And the candidate might say, okay, I was sort of kidding, but Pat Smith was a week late with a report. So in a video, you'd see me pointing to my iPhone calendar and saying, maybe a little sarcastically, Pat, your report was due today. Not tomorrow, not next month, not next year, but today. And I hate to tell the CEO I missed my deadline because you missed yours. And the candidate might say, well, I guess my playful little jab kind of turned into bluntness. Excuse me. So I hope some of these suggestions for probing for specifics will help you. When candidates say something that's vague and unclear, leaving you unable to actually make ratings on one or more competencies, you got to probe. In fact, probe deeper until you have the specifics that enable you to make solid, verifiable ratings. The easiest probe is to ask for specific examples. See, what's a specific example? What's a specific example of that? What's a specific example? But sometimes, and I'd suggest that you experiment with this just a little bit, ask for examples, what those examples would look like in videos. That's all for this top grading tips. And so next time, top grade your team and you will top grade your profits.